Hello and welcome back to another update of the case of the Tin Soldier. Hopefully this episode will clear some things up. Our first visit is to, how do I pronounce this? De Keys's Royal Hotel?
Are you from the police?
Were you expecting the police?
I was. My valet, Vladimir, reported to me that his interview with Pierre Matin was decidedly unproductive, as he was dead when Vladimir arrived.
I see. Tell me, why did he go to see Matin in the first place?
It was in reference to a certain valuable possession of mine that was stolen some years ago by Pierre's brother, André. I was in Paris, and I read in the London Times that General Armstead was to revise his very interesting book to include a chapter concerning that possession. Originally, I came here to visit him.
Then, how did you discover Matin's whereabouts?
Shall we say, someone made me aware that Matin was also in London, that he was the general source of information. But when the General Armstead was reported dead, I had no other alternative but to pay a call on Matin. So I sent Vladimir, an old man's legs, you understand, to speak with him.
Okay, maybe that didn't make things much clearer. Our next visit is to London Bridge Station.
Mr. Lacey, I see you still make your living by strapping your arms and legs behind you and fooling the poor public out of its tuppence.
Man's got to make a living somehow. What can I do for you, Holmes?
I want to ask you about the murder of General Armstead.
General who?
Really, Lacey. Perhaps you can fool some of the public some of the time, but you can never fool Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, that General Armstead.
Where were you at 10 o'clock this morning?
Where else would I be? I was at church.
You, Lacey, at church. It hardly seems likely.
I swear, at St. Mary's. They pass out soup and bread every morning at 9:30. The father will vouch for me. You can even ask him.
I may just do precisely that.
Let's see, I do believe that we can actually pay a visit to St. Mary's. Yes, it is on here. Anyway, next up is the Grand Hotel.
How fortunate that Inspector Lestrade authorized the hotel manager to allow us to search Philippe Arnaud's room.
Perhaps we can return the favor and solve a case for him someday. Today, for example. Let's look around.
How strange that a man who requires a cane would leave without it.
Perhaps he doesn't require it for walking.
Look here at the handle. Well, that could certainly give a fellow a start.
Precisely, Watson. Look here. It appears to be a letter.
Looks quite old. It's addressed to Captain Armstead, 12th Hussars. Shall I read it?
Please do.
Dearest, how I hated you for leaving me, but the child, our child, eased my heartache and muted the hate. Now my sweet baby is dead. How cruel that the innocent must suffer for the sins of others. Now I have nothing. Now I am nothing. I cannot bear the pain. Goodbye, I love you still, Fleurette. How tragic. Why, perhaps this is the very letter that the General read.
Good thinking, Watson.
That was very sad. Our next visit will be to Lloyd Shoemaker.
Langdale Pike told us you might be able to help us.
And how is Langdale these days? Has he lost his job? Or perhaps you're here to tell me that he's succumbing to some rare disease.
Oh, heavens, no. You'll be happy to know he's in the very pink of health.
Oh, I'm sure you have no idea how that makes me feel.
Mr. Shoemaker, the reason we're here is to ask about General Farnsworth Armstead and the circumstances of his marriage to Mary Fitch. Have you any recollections that might help us?
Ah, Miss Mary Fitch. As I remember it, Lord Fitch was in a dither to marry off his daughter. Auction off might be more appropriate, actually.
And Armstead was the highest bidder?
Suffice it to say that despite a reputation as a randy dandy, Armstead's career prospects were bright, and that seemed to be enough of a recommendation for Lord Fitch. The girl's brother was very much against the match and did everything he could to break it up. Soon after the engagement was announced, Armstead went on a tour of duty in France, where he had an affair with a young French girl. She became pregnant with his child.
How positively scandalous.
Yes, very scandalous. And that seems to tie in with the letter from the Grand Hotel. And now we will pay a visit to Lestrade, who can also be found at the Criminal Investigations in Scotland Yard.
Do you people have nothing better to do with your time than to interfere in police matters? Well, don't bother with this one. We have the matter under control. I've compiled a list of suspects, which you may not see. I intend to ask each one for an alibi, and the suspect unable to supply one is our killer. Quite scientific, really. Now, off with you.
Oh. From my experiences with the books, Lestrade is usually fairly cooperative. Most of the time, anyway. The last port of call will be for the irregulars at Somerset House. Okay, that is it for this update. I will check out the notebook in a moment, but I will reveal that we have now visited all the key locations, and we can now take this case to the judge. We just need to answer the question, who killed General Armstead? And we can still vote to visit more locations, or we can vote to close the case. The choice is yours. And this is the latest information that we have gathered. I believe that we have found some very interesting evidence in this update. And there we have it. Voting is now open again. Good luck.